All right. Everybody, hello everybody on the stream. 16 November 2023. Welcome to the 5th edition of the Flutter Wrocław Meetup. Make some noise for everybody here. Great. I like your attitude. I see the smiles on your faces. So I guess we can go. My name is Adrian Niglus. Actually, this is my first time on stage, so I hope you understand if something goes wrong or if when I stutter or something. Okay. Moving to today's sponsor, Applover. This is the software digital agency, mainly focused on the projects about health and medical care. If you want to be the part of the company or you are interested in the offer, go to the applover.com and see for yourself. Our partner is GDG Wrocław. It's a Google developer group. It's actually the community for the people who are in love with Google, just like we are. You can be the part of this community. It doesn't matter if you are intern or if you are senior developer. You can always join to them. You can acquire new skills here. You can establish new business connections. And, of course, be the part of the events like this one. All right, speaking about upcoming events, similar to like we got today, we got DevFest on the 6th December. This time we won't talk about Flutter. We will talk about artificial intelligence and web development. And we got end of year celebration on the 12th December. I don't want to tell you much more about it. Please follow the GDG Wrocław and see for yourself. All right, so we got the official part behind us. I hope you didn't get bored. We can go to the most interesting part. So let's go with the Flutter. But before this, we got prizes for you. You can see them right there on my left. So I encourage you to be active while on the question and answers section that will be on after every speaker. We got some goodies for you, so please be active and you will maybe earn something. All right, so Flutter Web. I know, very controversial. Somebody say it can be revolutionary. Some people doesn't really believe in it. But our today's speaker will try to elaborate whether it's have a future. Unfortunately, he will join to us online. He's home office. So everybody make some noise for the Adam Stelmaszyk. Everybody, make some noise. Adam, stage is all yours. Yeah, we can hear you.
And if the Flutter web has the future in the world, or we should skip it to learn the Flutter. Let's start from the agenda. We will have a short history. We have also where to use and not use the Flutter. We also say about say about some information about the Flutter web and the architecture there. Also useful widgets I mentioned, which I really like for developing the web applications. And also I highlighted what the Flutter can improve in the next release. And if we will have a time, I also do a short demo how the Flutter with JS cooperate. Okay, let's start it. The history with the web Flutter web started from, I think, before 2019, but the beta version was available in 2019. After 2 years, we got a stable version, but as I could know, some companies also develop their application with the beta, but a lot of work around they had to implement it. And I also highlighted 2023 because the Flutter introduced the new feature, element embedding. It is, I think, really cool feature because you can create your web in some other framework, but if you have some components from the Flutter, for example, from the mobile applications or from the desktop, you can easily implement these features, this part of the application in the React or in the other web frameworks, and also improve Flutter and the faster load time, because it was a big problem. Flutter still struggled this, but community and Flutter work on this every time. Okay, where is worthy to use Flutter web? I highlighted 5 bullets. First of all, it's a PWA, and PWA probably you know from the web development also. It's the application which can store the data locally, offline, and which is the application which use, for example, some camera or some other feature from the devices. Also, it's good to create a single page application because, in my opinion, Flutter gives you that much tools, that much styles that you don't have to spend a lot of time for creating some MVP or something like that. Also, migrate mobile app to web. I think it's the most common thing when you want to use the Flutter web. That, for example, you want to create really fast some web app and you have the mobile application, you can easily migrate to the web, the mobile application to the web. But of course, the business logic you can leave, but remember about changing the view, the view, because the screen size is different. And also be careful when you migrate mobile application, because some libraries doesn't work on the web version. As I mentioned before, also Flutter reduce the costs because we can have one of the code base for web, mobile, and desktop, and we can hire less people, I would say, or have a bigger team in Flutter. Where we shouldn't not use the Flutter, it's of course, for sure we shouldn't use for the blogs, because if we want to create some blog, we probably want to have a good positioning in the Google search, in the Google. And it's a really bad idea, because the Flutter struggled struggles still with the struggles with the SEO, the diffs and what is generated by the Flutter. It's not really familiarized with the Google robots, and also we shouldn't use the Flutter for web which have a lot of static content, like we have a lot of assets which we load when application first time is initialized, and during that time it's like everything like is loaded and it will take a lot of time, and that's why the Flutter, it's not good reason to take to this thing. Okay, and also I want to say about a little bit where is the Flutter in production. That here we have two companies, Superlist and Supernova, and Superlist is I would say is a kind of Jira for our daily tasks, and Supernova, it's a design system for exactly keeping the documentation for our projects and storing the data and easily create the documentation for our projects. And also I want to highlight it the third product, the reflection app, which doesn't matter what is exactly the application, but I found on the Flutter Dev when we have the tab for showcases, that they define ourselves as so with only 2 full-time developers, the team needed to quickly publish and maintain an elegant and scalable app on iOS, Android, and web on limited budget. And that's why the Flutter is really powerful. I think we can, with limited budget, create both of the application for the web and for the mobile for the mobile platform. Okay, and now we move a little bit to the development process, and I highlighted 3 of the commands. Like first is Flutter run the Chrome. It is for running our application on the Chrome. Second is Flutter build web, and this command is for the building our web application. And Flutter create platform web. It's if we want to if we want to migrate our mobile application to the web, we should execute this command in our project. And a little bit about the architecture, why it's so easy to migrate the mobile application to the web application, because as you see, the mobile application has 3 layers and the web has 2. But the first layer, it's the same, that the Dart framework in the first layer, it's the same, and that's why it's really easy to migrate mobile to web, because of course, if we have really complex application and we use, for example, platform channel, which communicate with native Android system or have some custom function there, of course, we have to a little bit adjust our migrating application. But if we find a solution for this problem, we can easily migrate mobile to the web. Okay, and I don't know, I don't think so that everyone knows, but Flutter has 2 types of the rendering. And first type is HTML and CSS, Canvas, and SVG. And second is the Canvas kit. I think someone can consider why we have 2 types of the rendering, because the HTML, CSS, Canvas, and SVG, it's for reduce size of the website. And Canvas Kit is for increased performance. If we have some really complex animation, or if we create some nice layout, and we don't care about size of the web, we can use easily Canvas Kit. And Canvas Kit is this has the same resolution and the same performance as we can get on the desktop application or on the mobile application. If we use the HTML build, we probably reduce our performance, and the application sometimes can looks worse than a Canvas Kit. Okay, and now we move to the tests. As normal, we have unit tests, widget tests, integration tests, and golden tests. The unit and widget and golden, they are not really, in my opinion, there are not big difference between these tests on the mobile and on the web, but the difference is in the integration tests, because for the integration test, we have to first of all download the Chrome driver and run the Chrome driver, and also we have to create a file which you have as a second, and we have to put there this phrase. This second phrase, what do you have on the screen? And normally when we run the mobile application, we run the Flutter integration, Flutter test integration, and that's it. And here we have a difference that, as you see, the command is much longer to run the integration tests. And also, in one of the company which I worked, we have a problem with the logs, because on the mobile side it's really easy to take a logs and recognize where is the problem. But on the web side, it's really difficult to recognize where is the problem in the test or where is the problem in the mobile in the application, and I think this kind of thing the Flutter has to improve. And how to publish exactly our Flutter web application if we finish. Firebase, it's a really good tool. We can, in 2 commands, we can create, we can publish our application. Also, the GitHub pages, Google Cloud Hosting, or some custom hosting you can use to publish your application. It's not really difficult. It's pretty easy to publish the Flutter web. And now we come to the stage where we have my favorite widget, like useful widgets for the web. For example, links. They are really useful widget that if you wrap some element by the link, you can go, you can open the new tab, or you can open your page from your website on the other tab. You can exchange the tabs, and I think it's a really useful widget for the Flutter web. Also, we have selection area. It's pretty new thing. I don't know if it's 1 year or something like that, because in the past it was difficult to select the data, and nowadays if you wrap the widget by the selection area, we can easily, as you see on the screen, you can easily select the area, and you can copy the text what you have. Focus. And also it's really important widget, I think, for the people who want to develop the Flutter application for the web or for the desktop, because Focus is widget which control the keyboard. And as you see on the example, that if the user press A and that our Focus widget do that our application ignore it. If we press some other buttons, the application will not ignore it. I know it could be the semantic. It's different what I say, but it's true because we handle the if the A is pressed, we handle it, but we don't have any handler there, and that's why we don't do anything with the key with the A. What Flutter can improve in next release? In my opinion, it's a problem with lack of search engine optimization. It's a problem with SEO. I will show in the next slide how the HTML looks like when we generate when it's generated by the Flutter. Also, hot reload doesn't work on the Flutter web. It's on the Flutter on the mobile application. It's really nice that we can reload only the page and we stay on this page. But on the Flutter web, it doesn't work. We come back to the root page where we started. Isolates are not currently supported in the Flutter web, and if we want to do something in the background, it's good to use web workers, but we should use the web workers with the JS, and we have to integrate JS with the Flutter. Also, I think a lot of people use the platform is iOS, but is Android. But currently the web doesn't support. The desktop supported, the Android supported, the iOS supported, but the web it doesn't support. Platform is. And as I said on the previous slide, that search engine optimization, and as we see that the divs. So it's custom divs from the Flutter, and as you see, if I wanted to hover to check some elements, all of the page is highlighted by the Flutter, and it's really, I think it's really a problem in the Flutter. I hope so that in the future it will change. Tips and tricks. Web app initialization. Web has a problem with initialization because if we see that sometimes it can has 2 seconds of delay or 3 seconds of delay, and some users don't like this behavior, and Flutter propose something like this, that if we are during the loading of the process of the all assets or Dart index Dart.js or something like that, we can perform before this during this loading for example some initialization screen which is written in the JS, and here and from the 246 247 our magic like started. We in this first function we do service workers. We initialize index JS Dart. After it we initialize all of the assets and all of the other images and the common things. And after it, we run our DOM and we run our application. And these 3 steps can, for example, give us, we can create some loader which can have 3 steps or something like that. Okay, that's it from the presentation, but I also have small demo, as I said before. First, I will run the demo, and I will show you how it exactly works. And the demo is a JS and Flutter mix. And as you see here, I don't know if you notice that our website loaded in really fast, and it is written in JS. But as I mentioned before, the Flutter needs more time for loading, and that's why we only saw the frames of the element. And now we saw also the problem. And this what we see, it's Flutter embedding in the HTML, and we can see, and this element is connected with the. One second, sorry. This element is connected with the Flutter. 1 second, I have to run again without debugging it. Okay. We have it. And as we see, we increment in the JS, and we see that in the Flutter we also have the same result. And as we see, we also can increment in the Flutter, and we see the result in the JS. Also, if we change the screen, also as we see, we change the screen in the JS, and our Flutter change. And what exactly happened here? It means that we have our main Dart file, and we have our JS file, and of course everything is started from the index HTML where we run our application. And as you see here, this is written in the HTML, and this thing is exactly this part of the application. And okay, and now we have the demo CSS.js and main Dart. And the most important thing here is the initial init state. And here we create a connection between the JS and the Dart. And on the right side, as you see, we have to add notation to the function, that this function is also used by a JS. And let's see, I can show you really quick how it works. Let's take the increment function, and I put the debug here. And when we click the increment button on the JS side, we see that also it's performed. It triggered the JS triggered the function in the Flutter, and the implementation in the JS file it is here. And here we have that. At its event click, we trigger the incrementation upstate. As we see, we have Windows upstate, which was initialized in the init state, which we have here. And I think our time is gone, and I think that's it. Thank you very much for having me here.
All right. Huge applause for you, Adam, from the offline side. Do we have any questions? Okay, we got one question here. Let me walk to you and give you the microphone.
Thank you. Hi. Have
Hi.
you ever tried to use HTML element view for web in Flutter? I mean, when you need to register iframe and then render it through. And have you ever used it for some bigger web page than just one page with HTML? I mean, with CSS and with links with JavaScript.
To be honest, I didn't have occasion on the Flutter, on the web Flutter, but I have occasion to do something like in the mobile application. But it's pretty easy because you have a widget which take all of the things from the web, and that's it. And you can also do some callbacks or something like that. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes, yes, thank you. And one more question. You mentioned that there is a problem with searching engine, yes?
Yeah.
For web.
Yeah.
But we have accessibility widgets in Flutter, such as semantics widget, and it doesn't solve the problem, does it? Because if I'm not mistaken, the semantics widget can do this job.
Well, I understand you. I get. To be honest, maybe I skip something. I don't know. Like when we, I'm more focused about the cell because you cannot like create because it's a canvas and it's pre-generated thing. It's not really create HTML. It's not created divs or some or some headers or something like that. It's create some prepare pre-bake the Flutter, I would say, elements, and yeah, and that's why, you know, the CEO, the Google robot which is scraping all of the data, what is about on the page and something like that. It has a problem with the Flutter webs. Yeah, but maybe you are right. Maybe this semantic like solve it. I'm not a god. I don't know everything about Flutter.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we got two more questions.
Yeah, hi, thank you for the presentation. Yeah, I'd like to point out that it's really weird that Flutter is basically Google's baby, and yet it doesn't support the Google CEO optimization very well,
Yeah.
because that's the biggest part, I believe, of Google's income. But anyway, you mentioned that everything is rendered into one canvas, but I don't know if I'm right, but I believe that it's only the case for this Canvas GL with Skia, and we've got the second option to render with SVGs and HTML and what's not. So maybe that's the way to go if we want to focus on SEO optimization. Yeah.
I also present this to think that we can generate our application in HTML, and also we can generate in Canvas. But to be honest, like maybe it's a good way, but we have to also understand that the Flutter works. That the Flutter is generate, you know, in the Canvas, even though use the HTML is their custom HTML, and if they don't change to the normal divs or how the React is generated, I would say it will be the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, I have a question about UI and design because Flutter has 2 options for UI style. I mean, for mobile, it's Cupertino and material design. And my question is there any other style for web components, for web widgets, and so on?
Oh my God! It's a really nice question, but I think I'm not able to answer this. I know the material free now it was released, and also the Cupertino, and I don't know if the material free is not better to use than the Cupertino. But to be honest, I don't know rest of the styles. Yeah, sorry for that.
All right. We got another question.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Adam. Thank you for the presentation once again. My question is there possibility to use JavaScript to create a Flutter application? Because, for example, I have a React application, and I would like to swiftly transit it to Flutter across.
Yeah, like basically my example show it that you can use that you can embed it, your Flutter application in some JS app, and here I have basically HTML. But if you create a React application, there you have some components or some things which are written in the HTML, and yes, you can integrate the Flutter with the JS.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Any more questions? We got one more question.
So I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask about the app size, the deployment of the application, and what size are we expecting when we are deploying the Flutter web application?
I think it's really it's a really nice question, but it depends. It depends on for whom you deploy this application. If you deploy this application to the normal user, such as, I don't know, Facebook or something like that, it's good that the application works in the same time when you enter. But if you deliver the application for, I don't know, for example, for some company which is the application used internally, the loading, like if the website is loaded like 5 seconds or 3 seconds or 2 seconds, it doesn't matter because they use their application, for example, for 1 hour, for 2 hours. It depends, in my opinion. But I also know, I didn't try it yet, but I also know that you can divide it, your JS Dart file to the smallest pieces, and in that way your application can be loaded faster.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? Oh, okay. You're so active today.
Hello, thank you. I have a question about PubDev. We know that mobile side of Flutter has a very large community, but web is smallest. So what about external packages? Is it enough for real world? And if you cannot find something, how do you solve this problem?
I have to be honest, like sometimes when I have a problem, I created small JS script that, for example, we have a problem in the company that the people go out from the website, but they don't aware that they are going from the website. And I create in JS the alert for them, and I integrate with the Dart, with the Flutter. And it was one of the cases which I don't have supported from the PubDev. But on the other hand, we have to remember, in my opinion, it's my opinion only, that for the mobile application or for the desktop application, we have more input devices such as camera or something like that, and that's why you need more libraries, and also we have to remember that the Flutter web is not that mature as a mobile, and it's still growing. If I answer on your question, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any more questions on site? No, but we got one more online question for you, Adam. Let me read that for you. You have mentioned some disadvantages of developing a web app in Flutter.
Yeah.
Would you currently have the courage to propose this solution to clients and fight against the traditional popular approach? Or would you be afraid of hitting a wall with some solutions like CEO, search, etc.?
Okay, for example, I mentioned that we have a problem with the hot reload. Doesn't work on our on the Flutter web, and it's a really cool thing because we can reload our application and we don't lose a data and current state of the screen. But if you have the case that the application should work also offline, you can create some custom cache, which can also store the data without connection of the internet, and when you have that cache that store also where the user was when reload the page, we can also use this for the reload that we reload, and the application fetch the data from the local storage and get the data and go exactly without 1 second to the page and to this page where you develop, and also and return the data which was used before reloading.
All right, Adam. I think that's all for the questions. So everybody make some noise for the Adam for his beautiful presentation. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening and bye.
All right, everybody. So we got 3 minutes past 7. We got 10 minutes break. Let's say 12 minutes. So we see each other in 7:15. Thank you.
Raz. Raz. Raz, raz, raz.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat because it's time for our next speaker. But before that, I told you about the prizes, but I didn't give you. So maybe it's time to fix this. Unfortunately, we have only 2 prizes per speaker. So let's say the faster the better this time. I saw you guys, you were first, so do you prefer these prizes or the licenses for, let me remind that, JetBrains, oh yeah, JetBrains or those prizes? Prize and prize, all right. So, this guy's for you.
Thank you.
And this one's for you. All right. So we got the prizes, and now great developer, my friend, and also my mentor in the company. He'll tell you more about 2D interfaces. As we know, the widgets in Flutter are not everything. They are kind of limited, but our imagination is not. So that's why CustomPainted was created, and he'll tell you more about this. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the Michał Gauza! All right.
Mamy problem z mikrofonem, muszę go trzymać. A mogę go już położyć? W sensie... We not have something to hold it, okay? So I will try to do it like that. I hope you can hear me. Okay, my name is Michał, and today I will try to convince you that CustomPaint is not as scary as you think, probably, because some of you probably don't think it's scary. Anyway, to be honest, Adrian lied a little bit, because CustomPaint is a widget. So in the end, in Flutter, everything is a widget. But it's kind of special, let's say. And this is because CustomPaint provides us low-level API that gives us or enable us to draw custom shapes. Custom Painter or Custom Paint consists of Painter. This is the Painter is Custom Painter class. Size, the size that we give to our canvas. Foreground Painter. Basically, this is the same as the Painter, but the only difference is that Painter draw before the child, and Foreground Painter draw after the child. This is the only difference, basically. And in the end, we have our child widget. So this is how the Custom Painter looks. This is the painter that we need to give to our paint, custom paint widget. And basically we have two methods. First one is paint, so this is the method obviously that is responsible for painting on our canvas. And second method is should repaint, and this method tell our custom painter if he should call the paint method or not. Okay, next, let's say important thing that we need to know about the custom painter before we will start painting is how the coordinates work in the custom painter. And this is also really easy. Top left corner is 0, 0 point, and bottom right corner is our max width and max height. Okay, so if we know the basics, let's try to code something. Maybe I don't need to close it, only change the windows. Okay, now I have a little bit problem because I need to use my hands and somehow hold my microphone. I don't know how to do it, so I will try to talk loud. Okay, so to start painting, we have our custom. Can you see my code? Yeah. Okay. We have something. 1, 2, 3, test. It's working? Okay. Give me a second. Our size would be size of our window, and we need to create our custom painter. So let's say our painter would be painter. Okay, now we need to create this class. So create class, and now we need to extend from the custom painter. Oh, why it's not like that? Okay, now we need to override the method that I told about before. First one is paint, second one is should repaint, and now for simplicity, let's say I will return true all the time. Okay, and now we have our paint method. So let's say I want to draw a rectangle in the top left corner. So to do that, I need to use my canvas. And told the canvas draw rect, I need to pass my rect. We need to create it. So let's say we'll create it like a rect from left top with height. So we need to pass the left point, top point 0, 0. Width will be 100, and height also would be 100. And also we need to pass paint object. So let's create the paint here. And just a paint. I done something wrong. It shouldn't be path, it should be paint. Okay, now it should work. So let's try it, and yeah, we have our rectangle. So now let's say I want to create a rectangle in the bottom right corner here. So I copy it. To the left I will pass size that width, so the full width of our window. And for top I will pass size that height, so it's the full height of our window, and try to rebuild it. Yeah, we have some technical improvements. Anyway, let's rebuild it, and as you can see, I don't get my rectangle, and this is because we try to draw it like here, but from the left top corner. So my rectangle is drawn basically here. So to make it visible, I need to subtract
Tak, jest super.
Sorry? Okay. Yeah, okay, I get you. Yeah. Yeah, I can hear that too. So back to the main story, let's say. I need to subtract 100, so the width of our rectangle and height of our rectangle to make it visible. And let's say I also want to create a rectangle in the middle. So for that, I also need to use canvas.drawRect. But this time I can create my rect not from left top, but from the center. So now I need to pass center. So let's create our center object and our center. This, by the way, this must be an offset object. So let's say our center would be size.center. And we need to pass here offset, but we don't want to change it. So let's say it would be offset.0. Okay, and for width and height also let's pass 100 and 100, and our paint would be the same paint as for previous rectangles. So let's try it. Oh, let's try it. Yeah, and we have our rectangle in the middle. So also let's change a little bit how it looks. So let's set color to be. Oh, sorry, but. Mac keyboard is not my daily keyboard, so I have some troubles. So let's say color would be colors.red. So let's try it. And to make only, let's say, frame of the rectangle instead of the filled rectangle, we need to pass style for our paint. So let's make it style. It should be paint. Yeah, paint style that stroke. And rebuild it, and I hope it's more or less visible, but let's make it more visible, so we also pass that our stroke width would be, let's say, 5. Let's try it. And yeah, we have our rectangles with the stroke of the width of the 5. But this is, let's say, nothing special. I mean, we can do it with the stack and with the containers. But now let's say I will create background with the rectangle, but the rectangle would be some kind cut off from this background. So to do this, I need to use something that is called path. So let's create background path, and it would be path, not paint, path. And we need to add to this path rectangle to make it like a background. So let's create a rect that largest. So it will create basically the largest rectangle that is possible. And now we can use our canvas to draw this path. Yeah, let's pass background path, and we also need to pass paint. And because we if I pass the same paint as previous, we don't see anything because we use this stroke value. So let's, for now, copy it. Let's call it background paint. Remove the stroke and also stroke width because it's not necessary. And change the color to, let's say, blue with opacity 0.5. And now let's pass this paint here and try it. And as you can see, we have our canvas with light blue background. And now, because the main reason behind that was that I want to, let's say, cut off this this rectangle because it would be quite challenging without the canvas and custom painter, I think. So to do this, I need to create another path. So let's create it and call it like a cutout path, and created path. And also we need, let's create it. First, let's create a rect path, and would be path that add rect. And let's add our center rect. Okay, semicolon should work, everything. And now I want to create this cutout path. So let's say final cutout path would be equals to path that combined with the right one. And now we need to pass operation that we want to do. So in our case, it would be path operation that difference, and we need to pass the first path, so it would be our background path, and second path, and it would be our rect path. And now I only need to draw it. So let's take this here, more or less. And instead of our background path, we try to draw our cutout path. Yeah, it worked. So maybe this is nothing really fancy, but I think without the custom painter, it would be really hard to achieve something like that with, let's say, built-in widgets in Flutter. Let's say now I want to add some text into this rectangle, so I need to pass child with text widget, and let's say our text would be hello world. Okay, rebuild it, and as you can see, I messed up everything, and this is because I passed the size that would be the size of our window, but also pass the child, and now the size is basically override by the size of the child. So I can remove the size because it doesn't matter now, and wrap our child in the side box that expands. So now it should be as big as possible. Yep. And now let's wrap our child in center and rebuild it. And yeah, as you can see, I achieved what I talk about. Once again, it's not really fancy, but probably hard to do or even impossible without the custom painter. Okay, so let's go next. I talked a little bit about the should repaint method, and this method is, this method is a little bit weird because let's go to another example. Should repaint. And I have it here. So from this method, we can return true or false, basically. And as you can see, when I return true, also in this widget, I'm rebuilding everything every 16 milliseconds. So this is why I have only almost 40 frames per second. And this widget, this custom painter is quite complicated because, as you can see, I have two for loops. Each of one draw a lot of stuff here, like the lines, move to, etc. to draw. I'm not sure if it's visible. Not really. But this small, everywhere is a small Flutter logo. And because I'm rebuilding it every 16 milliseconds, I have really troubles with frames. But I can check my background, change my background, sorry. And as you can see, the frames are low, but let's say quite okay. To make it better, I can return from the should repaint false. But yeah, now I have 120 frames per second. And as you may think that now probably I cannot change the background color, but it's not true. I can still change it. And this is because the should repaint is, let's say, a little bit strange, because if we set it to false, it doesn't mean that our custom painter does not call our paint method. It will, but now we don't have 100%. We are not know for 100% if it will be called or not. Probably it will be because we are rebuilding the parent widget. But let's say it's also not the best solution. So to make it more performant and to also be sure that our widget would be repainted, the best way in our case is to compare our old delegate with the current background value, background color. And now if I run it, I'm not sure why it shouldn't supposed to be like that. Anyway, yeah, but like let's say classic one, it worked in my home. So yeah, so maybe yeah, but the worst thing is it is my computer. Yeah, it should be like I should compare it and see if they are equal or not. Because if they are equal, then it should work like a false. But I also should be sure that when I repaint it, I will repaint it because we change this value depending on the stuff we pass.
Yeah, but you are calling should repaint returning true if the color stays.
Ah. Yeah, yeah, you are the one. Thank you, mate. Exactly. Yeah. Whew. That was close one. Yeah, and exactly. Thank you. Now, if they are not equal, with like we don't rebuild them every time because the color are the same. And if I change the color, we are rebuilding it. So I can spam and everything should work. Okay, let's go forward. And so why someone want to use CustomPaint when you can do most of the stuff without it? And yeah, the answer is in the question, I think, because you can do most of the stuff, but not everything. So sometimes you need to use CustomPaint. So let's go through some examples. First one is similar to this what I showed you before. So let's say we have an app that is a QR code scanner, and we want to create this frame to show user where the scan area exactly is, and this can be done without the custom painter because let's say it's just a container with rounded corners, etc. But let's say we don't have full rectangle, we want only the corners. So again, this is the case where the out-of-the-box widgets will no help us, probably. And also, let's say that we want have this grayish background around the scan area, but not in the scan area, obviously. And this is, I think, the most. I think this is the best case where we can use it without, like, it's functional and can happen in real product. Next widget is also quite functional. So in this widget, I can create I can sign. Almost. I didn't add the back feature. There's only delete all, so I will leave it like that. Yeah. Signature, yeah. And for me, when I thought about creating something like this, it was something hard. But as you can see here, this whole widget take me like almost 120 lines. So in the end, it wasn't hard. Of course, there are some packages where you have this functionality and you can use them, but sometimes you don't want to use packages or you have some troubles with dependencies. Okay, let's go next. This widget is more like a design than functional, I think, because I never done something like that in my app. But it also shows yeah, it's quite visible, I think. It also shows what we can do in custom painter, especially if we have a very creative designer and he wants some really custom widgets and yeah, really custom widgets basically. Second, our next widget is this loader with when the loader is loaded, the particles are shooting out from it. I'm not sure if it's visible on the screen, but you have to believe me, it is like that. And yeah, it's again not really functional. We can, in this case, we can use only baked-in loader in Flutter SDK. But let's say we want something more fancy. And little disclaimer: this loader and this volume knob. It's not my idea. I find it on YouTube and decided to recreate it. And next thing is, I hope you can see it. It's something like fake 3D or 2.5D, or I don't know how to call it. This is also done with Custom Painter. And as you can see, I draw here like everywhere is a line. And there's a lot of these lines. So again, I could do this with the, let's say, containers, but then the performance for sure wouldn't be as good as it is. We have 50 frames, and we are in debug mode, so I think it's quite nice achievement, let's say. And next widget is fireworks, and again, as you can see, we do a lot of stuff on our screen, and still we have fairly nice amount of frames. And if I go to this widget, here we use custom painter, but even with let's say more low-level stuff. Because here I'm using, I tried to make it bigger. I hope it's okay. So here I'm using vertices to draw my fireworks. And basically vertices are triangles, even though here it looks like a rectangle. And this is because I'm drawing two vertices instead of, or vertice it's called, instead of one, to make it look like a rectangle. And it's, let's say, harder to do than the basic custom painter. But as you can see, basically I'm drawing like 100 of, let's say, this main firework, and every of this firework have 36, if I remember right, smaller partitions. And even though that we are drawing a lot of stuff, we still have a nice amount of frames. Okay, let's go back to, so vertices is, I think, another huge topic, and I really recommend to, if someone wants to know more, try or look on the videos on YouTube. First one is from Filip Hraczek about the vertices, and second one is also from the Filip and Craig Lebens, if I'm pronouncing it correct. And second one is about fake 3D graphics with vertices, and on the Filip channel you also can find some sort of fake 3D models. And oh, sorry. Yeah, but it's anyway the last slide. So that's all from my side. Thank you for your attention, and do you have any questions?
Yeah, huge applause. All right, everybody, any questions? All right, we got the first one.
Just some questions that popped up in my mind when I looked at your presentation. Is it possible to to create such a presentation using the custom painter. I mean, in web, let's say the full slides. Have you heard about such?
You mean like
frameworks?
instead of this
PowerPoint, like
PowerPoint Google stuff? Yeah, I think yes. Probably the only limitation is time and patience, but I think overall yes. With small exception, like when we have this widget, so this when we use the paths and the difference stuff, this not work on web. At least it was not working when I was creating this presentation. And I don't think that the Flutter team fixed it since yesterday, so this can be a problem. But overall, I think, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we got another question. Hi, my name is Kirill.
Yeah.
What can you tell about density support, display density? Because in mobile we have different screen sizes and scale setup.
To be honest, nothing. I don't get such deep into that. The stuff that is, let's say, rendered, it's handled by Flutter, and yeah, sorry.
Yeah, okay, because it's important to support because a device has a different resolution, and it's important to have pixel perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I get your question, but I didn't get such deep into that, I think. And also in the end, they are like a custom paint is a widget, so it's probably handled the same way as other widgets. But I don't want to lie.
Yeah, but yeah, okay, because with custom painter we use the raw values, and we have to align to density. Okay, and another one is it possible to export image? Because I have example. We had the application for electronic shelf labels, and we have to display preview of the price on mobile before we apply it to shelf label. And for example, if you would like to export this image into a bitmap from Canvas.
Also, I'm not sure. For sure, you can display image with Canvas, but I cannot answer to your question. Sorry.
Okay, because in Android we have possibility to draw into a bitmap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
All
right. Hello? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, another question.
Hello, thank you. I have a question a bit related for previous guy, Kirill. Do you, one second, please. Do you see some difference in this animation that you saw us depend on engines? I mean, Skia and Impaler. Do you see some difference, or do we need to force Impaler for it, and maybe we need to warm shaders before if we are using Skia? What do you think about these two engines?
Sorry, but I also cannot answer to your question. I didn't get anything, but also I probably didn't get such that deep into this topic. The more I like my presentation, I think I tried more to show that the custom painter is not as hard to use as some of Flutter devs think, probably. At least I was thinking like that. When I saw some kind of custom widget with, especially with some kind of animation, etc., it was like, okay, it will take the whole time, and don't do it because it's not worth it. And now it's like, yeah, okay, it's not that hard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry again.
Another question? Anybody? All right, one hand up.
Please, easy question.
Not today. Probably the custom painter is the basic thing to create another widgets. But do you know what is under the hood of custom painter? Is it widget based on C++ or what?
No, I don't know. I don't get that deep. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Maybe I will repeat myself, but it was more like on this scratch the surface about the custom painter and how to use it, and not go such deep how it works under the hood.
All right. Any more questions? Looks like not. So everybody make some noise for Michał for his beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. So we got 10 minutes to 8 p.m. So let's give it a break and see you in 10 minutes. So this is time for you. Grab some drinks.
Nie no, luzik.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back online. The break is has finished, and let's sit and back to the Flutter lectures. All right, I have to say I forgot for the second time about the prizes for the hour. People who ask questions. So for one more time, do you prefer the license or the gift?
A license for implementation.
Okay, so you want the...
Sorry, I would prefer gift because I have already the license.
Oh, okay, and you? Okay, so the prize will be okay for you. All right, so I'll just pass it to you. This one's for you, and this one's for you. All right, thank you, and once more for your activity. All right, our next speaker came here from abroad. She flew all the way from London here just for you, exclusively. She's a great developer, great teacher, and today she'll share with you how the professionals handle the multiple and consecutive release versions of the Flutter applications. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise for the Teresa Wu. Teresa, the stage is all yours.
Hello. Hello. Good evening, everyone. It's my second time coming to, I try to say this word correctly, Wrocław. Yeah, Wrocław. I had a lecture with me and my colleague. She was giving me a lesson of how to pronounce this, the name correctly, because the first time I saw it, I didn't pronounce it in the right way at all. So I'm a software engineer. I work for JP Morgan, and very nice to meet everyone here. Although it's a bit dark, I can't see everyone's face, but this talk today is, I hope to actually, while I'm talking, giving you the information, I also want to ask some questions. I don't know if it's possible, because it's really hard for me to see anyone there, actually, because this one is very, very bright. But if you can share of your experience while I'm giving you my experience, that would be awesome. Usually I talk about the Flutter, but today I'm going to talk about something very different, DevOps, but for front-end project. That's for web, for mobile in general, front-end. So what our journey today for the next 30, 40 minutes? We will look at the history of DevOps overall, and we'll talk about the pipeline design for front-end project. So you see it from the different angle. I know as a developer, most of the time we just build new features, improve our project, work on the architecture of our project. And in order to enhance the operation, the DevOps of the project, we actually have to do a lot more to enhance the project architecture. And in this talk, I'm trying to give you my own experience of what we did to improve our project, from shipping and from how to release quick and how to cache things as well. That will be the third part, which touches the architecture of the project design and the configuration. Then goes to the end. What we do as for DevOps is all to enhance delivery, to enhance the production release line, so our product can go out as quick as possible. There's a book, I think it's called Accelerate, and also there's a very nice book to read about the project of Unicorn. It talks about, like, for example, we build our project, but if we don't ship them to our customer, it will be like a stock in our warehouse, just something we waste our time, right? So the thing that we can deliver to our end user actually are helping us to generate value for our product. So let's begin. By the way, if you have any questions that you wanted to ask for any of the slides, just raise your hand. I think I can see, and we can just have some conversation, because this one is also last talk as well. Let's make it casual. So, history of DevOps in 2007. Patrick first realized the frustration between dev and ops, right? At the time, dev and ops are totally separate team. What happens is developer will build some feature for like 6 months or a year, not like agile as we have today. Back then, they built the things for like over 6 months, and they will give end of the 6 months when they're about to release the product. They will give a big chunk of code to the operation team. It's actually a hardware team to operate, running tests, and to ship the product. This is why dev and ops are separate in back then. So Patrick realized there's a frustration between those two departments. They're not even team, that different department on different floor. So then he's starting to discuss about this agile and DevOps concept in the following year in some meetup. And in 2009, the first talk about how we deploy 10 times a day was first mentioned. I mean, if you work for like microservices, for companies like nowadays, they probably deploy 10 times a day, sometimes even 1,000 times a day. But in 2009, this was so new, right? Like this concept of deploy 10 times a day was like super awesome, like super cool. But actually, in front-end project of today, we actually can deploy 10 times a day as well, and I'll show you how we can achieve it. Then within the 2 years, in 2011, doesn't look like that long ago, Cameron actually starting to publish more prediction of DevOps, and this become an official word, that DevOps become actually something very official since then. So as in general, right now, DevOps for front-end, but the role of DevOps overall, right, what they do, that they improve the quality, they bring everyone to collaborate together, and it's basically a concept that Agile actually promote as well. They make sure things can work in a continuous way in terms of development, test, and integration. Everything is lean as possible. So it benefits as they can accelerate, make and improve the productivity as well. So again, before we go into the front-end world, let's have like a big picture of what DevOps looks like right from Google Cloud Build. This is what DevOps do, right? As for the whole project, backend, the make image of your front-end project for web. So again, I'm not going to talk about this in very detail. You have this fully managed CI/CD platform where you have your containers and you have your security check, right, of the binaries, and you run your Kubernetes engine and you do your audit. And then at the end of the day, running all this whole cycle, your code is ready to be published. If we're talking about Google Cloud, right, you have, like, for example, tools like Cloud Build to help you make this whole process as easy as possible. But we make this be simplified, overview-wise, right, CI/CD pipeline, as probably for everyone. We start with having the source code is pushed to somewhere, say, for example, GitHub. This will be same as a build trigger. I'm sure everyone probably have the same flow in your CI/CD, in your company. You push your code, that will be a trigger to start build something, right? And end of the build, you have the image be pushed to a container. And this one will be actually, you're doing some tests, right? So this product will actually, in the end, will go to your end user on a very high level view. But how about front end, right? So the DevOps role for front end is actually very different in a way, because we don't have to care so much about the outer shell of the container, the hardware, the cloud, but we care about the infrastructure and the project architecture within how the pipeline is set up. So question, right, just to raise your hand, just to understand like everyone's a bit more of your project. In your team, right, in your front-end team, do you have like a separate person or team to look after the pipeline? Yes, yes, yes. Nice, nice. So for those who are not, I'm not sure why. Maybe in your team you spread this whole DevOps role among everyone take responsibility of building some pipeline. But for those who have a team delegate for building the pipeline, in my experience, right, it's a summary of what I think, right, for the role. As DevOps for Frontend project, we will be responsible to set up the configuration, to automate the process, to build the test and bundle the code, configure the bundler and the modules, right? And also version the app, look after the app release management as well. And also in the end, we want to monitor the performance, and everything will get feedback passed back to our dev team. So this will run as a circle. So let's say, right, we start with, again, build, which is a continuous integration. We have our code, right, push to our testing circle, and it goes to release, deploy, and operate, right? Monitor-wise, we'll get the data and information to help us make a plan for the next build circle. And this is what the circle is for: continuous integration and continuous deployment. Again, if we break this picture down a little bit more into detail for front-end project, what this means is, let's start with developer commit the code, right? We might have a multi-repo project, maybe it's monorepo. We have repository 1, repository 2, and if you are experienced with how to set up CI/CD with maybe, for example, Jenkins or Bitrise or other tools, right? You will have this webhook for your CI/CD to connect to your CI/CD. Maybe, for example, if you're using Jenkins. And here you have different type of pipeline. You probably have multi-branch, right? Or have like a scheduled job or parent job on demand, and you have a child pipeline. This can be run on its own, or it can be associated with a parent pipeline. And after this circle, your code, your production code is uploaded to Artifact or to a Docker, which will be then tested by a testing team or be automated by a test lab or device farm from AWS. And the test result will be sent back as notification, as email, and this feedback goes back to development team as a data for you to help to improve your product for the next cycle. So this whole flow is probably very general for most of the CI/CD pipeline as overview. Let's go into a bit more detail, right? Let's talk about how we improve it and what we can do. So, are we all familiar with those tools? Anyone using Jenkins? Like me? Yay. I've been working a lot with Bash recently. Anyone using GitHub Action? I'm very jealous. Wait, how can you use Jenkins and the GitHub Action?
In separate projects.
You are so lucky. Circle CI, GitLab. Yeah? I tried the GitLab on Kubernetes. It was with a Kubernetes project. Was quite actually very nice. Bitrise, yeah, for your Flutter project, I guess. And anyone use CodeMagic? Yeah, it's a good tool.
Which one is the best?
I'm not going to answer it. I don't work for any of them. I don't get commission. I'm good friend with Martin, so I would say I like CodeMagic. I didn't list everything here, but there's definitely more. So it depends on your, okay, let's go to the next slide, right? How do you choose your CI/CD tool, right? If you work in a personal project or you work for your company commercial project, there are limitations of what we can do for commercial project. Things that we can use or we cannot use, right? So as in terms of how to choose your tool, depends on what type of project you are building. Cost is probably the most important thing. Like, for example, if I'm making my own personal project, I'll think about the cost, right? Or even for commercial project, cost comes always the first, right? How easy can we integrate? How secure it is? It's probably actually very important, how secure. Then we talk about, can we scale it? Can we expand it? If we need more server, can we actually add more server to it? Can it auto scale? How we deal with the downtime? And again, right, think about migration. Can I migrate from here to there? So one thing about the Jenkins is like you have to do a lot with Jenkins manually, but it's actually very portable. So you can actually move away from Jenkins very easily because you have a choice of you can use Bash, Fastlane, Python. Basically, it's just a platform that you can just build in your own way. So things like Bitrise, right? I think their configuration is in YAML file, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, YAML file is actually cool, so it's okay. But think about how you will migrate to a different platform in the future, and can we host it locally or cloud? So I think, for example, again, Bitrise, right, or Jenkins or any tool, right? You probably host everything on cloud by default, but you have your local version, you can run everything locally, which is super awesome. So you can test things easily as well. Okay, so now, this one actually I didn't design this, the types. This was information by a course by Google, talk about their pipeline design. It's a summary of the types, right? There were 4 in general, but you don't need the 4 of them. I will explain why, right, later. But here are the major 4 types. The integration, something that we interact a lot, probably mostly. This is about your PR code, right? To merge your code back to the production, back to the main branch. Ideally, this should run within 10-20 minutes. So for your project on your pipeline PR, how long does it take to run a PR pipeline? Is it within 20 minutes?
It depends. It could be 40 minutes.
Yeah.
1 hour.
Yeah. We will talk about why we have this pain. We go through exactly the same issue. So ideally, we want this to run fast and fail fast as well. So we see the issue as early as possible. Or it can be a full pipeline, which runs everything, all the tests. But we can run this off-peak, right? I will explain all the types now, walk you through in detail of how we improve each of them. And the release, probably will know about release, but what's the difference between release and the deployment, right? I will talk about release as well, how we do micro-release for our project, that we can release things in a modular approach. So your deployment, if you have like this secondary release pipeline to run your release already, your deployment pipeline should be protected, and it should just run very smoothly, 10 minutes top. The purpose of deployment is just grab the code in production, bundle it, and ship it to the store. That's it, right? Don't do any tests, don't do any fancy logic there. Just make sure that you test everything fully before you hit the deployment pipeline, or maybe it's auto-run. The purpose of that is just to push the code to production, right? Simple. So, but we know we have these different types, right? What is a challenge with the CI/CD, right? It's probably taking too long to run, as you were saying. Should we fail fast, or should we not fail fast? There are different pros and cons, right? Because, for example, we want to see all the failing tests, so we don't want the pipeline to fail fast, but we want it to fail fast, so we can actually do things quick, right? Which tests do we run in which pipeline, and how can we cache, right? So for example, if I change one line of code, do I rerun everything again, or can I use the power of cache to skip those tests I already run and I didn't change the code there? If you want to use cache, how do we use cache? And I will give some example here, but taking a project a bit more for web, as for example. But the concept is same, right? Notification, how can we be triggered by notification? I know, like, for example, I receive email from Jenkins, like, I don't know, 100 of them a day for things that fail, things that are passed. How can we be notified? And this notification doesn't get ignored. But all this problem leads into the challenge of our front-end project, because for front-end project, it's actually so different from back-end project because of the UI features. Again, the challenge for front-end project is what to test and what not to test. This is actually quite important of what not to test in each stage. We probably all have a release branch if we're using Git flow. And some experience says we have this long leaf feature release branch, and that will cause delay in our release cycle. Do you guys use release branch? Yeah, okay. That always taking too long to merge each PR. That means if I have a PR and it goes into integration, and if one person will ask me to change one line of code or maybe change a spelling and to run the whole build again, that was very annoying. How do we treat circle dependencies and monoliths? This is actually a very interesting topic because we have a big project. Maybe we have like 50 modules, packages in our project. And we think our project is very modularized because we have payment module, we have onboarding module, we have authentication module, everything is modularized. But it doesn't mean your project doesn't have any cycle dependency. You might still have a monolith project if you run into a cycle dependency issue. So if you have, like, for example, if you run your project graph tree, if your project graph tree look like some arrow pointing down or pointing up with one direction, then your project is perfect. But if you have arrows pointing one direction and a different direction, that means your project is monolith, unfortunately. Right, how errors alarmed, how we be notified about those issues, right? There are probably more challenges for front-end project, but this is more oriented for the design of the pipeline. So some question for us to think about in terms of the project architecture and how can we improve our pipeline and how to improve release in the end. Do we use monorepo? Do we use monolith? Is our project monolith? We don't want monolith, but is our project monolith project? Can we use a micro frontend? How do we deal with release? What is our branching strategy, testing strategy, and are we on multi-platform, right? Or do we use different native language, right? So let's blend those issues with the design of the pipeline. Let's look at those step by step in detail. By the way, if you have any question, just raise your hand and we can discuss it, right? So first, integration, PR. Ideally, Google advised this one should run in 20 minutes, but it doesn't always that case, right? Like you were saying, sometimes it takes 60 minutes to run. Do you have your PR running more than 60 minutes? Yeah, I'm sorry for you. I've been through the same thing. So one thing that we discussed here in our pipeline design is should we improve or should we have fail fast? The discussion here with the team is, by the way, the way we discuss those things in the team and we decide together, is like one person said we want to fail fast. So if one unit has to fail, the whole PR fail, then I'll be notified. So that means I can fix the issue and submit my pull request again. The whole thing taking me like 2 minutes, right, if there issue. So fail fast is great. Another person said, no, if I have like a 10 unit has to fail, I don't want to be notified and my build fail on the first run. Then I fix the first one, run again, the second one will fail. So I want to actually see the whole thing of what is the failing tests, so I can fix them together. But this takes 60 minutes to run the whole thing. And even if we fix everything together, doesn't guarantee everything will run successfully. So this is a decision by your team, right, and your project of do we implement the fail fast or not? And yeah, like PR builds, and also, do you have this code owner logic in your project? Yeah, nice. So we also, like code owner doesn't mean it's one person owning the whole project, right? So for each module or for each package, we delegate this to a team. That means if I change things in my own area, then I know what's the logic in my area, so I'm happy to push the code. But if I change someone else's module or someone else's feature, then we need someone from that team to look at the code to make sure we don't actually change any business logic of their code. So we have this code owner logic in. So we need a code owner to review our PR as one additional request before we can merge. And another thing is, right, when I create a PR, and of course someone else have merged before me or after me to the main branch, do I rebase before I merge, or do I not rebase before merge? Technically I should, but this makes the build to rerun again for another 60 minutes. So in your case, right, do you always rebase before you merge? Yeah? Sure. That's nice. Right, or we just try the fast forward to make sure we don't have any conflicts, right? This is like something in between, merge or rebase or not rebase. Right, okay, so here are a few things we actually can think about or design to improve our PR pipeline. But first, right, very importantly, how we design our pipeline, this is what I talked about a bit earlier, is like, do we have deployment, do we have release, or do we actually use PR? This all depends on the branching strategy. What it means, right? Maybe we use Git flow, maybe we use a trunk or scale trunk. Anyone using Git flow here? Anyone use trunk? I would like to talk to you about your trunk development, which was fascinating. But anyone use something in between scale trunk? I will explain it, right? What is, yeah?
I think it's simple Git flow when you have on the feature branch and master branch, main branch.
Yeah. Yes. You might get some present. Sorry. I wake up at 4 p.m. today, so I'm a bit of, and also worked for the whole day. So why we talk about the branch strategy when we talk about pipeline design, because it does impact the design of it. So for example, if we use Git flow, that means our pipeline design we'll think about PR, we will think about full pipeline, we'll think about release, because we have those branch. We have a main branch, we have a develop branch, we have a release branch, feature branch, multiple feature branch, and if things goes wrong, we have a hotfix branch as well, and probably some feature branch of hotfix branch, which makes the whole thing very colorful. I don't dislike Git flow. In fact, this one is actually very, it works really well for front-end project because of the UI and how complicated to release the UI project as well to App Store, for example, for mobile project. You do need like a main branch, develop branch, and a hotfix branch to support your UI deployment. So Git flow sounds a bit of old-fashioned, but it does work really well for UI project. So on the end side, right, let's skip scale for a bit. Trunk base, it's very fashion, but it's really difficult to implement. The reason is that you don't actually have a feature branch. You keep continuously merge your code back to the main trunk. That means you actually skip code review as well, because you merge and you don't create a feature branch, you just merge your code. How do we ensure that the code is actually nice, right, it's correct? This requires a lot of, it's actually work really well as well, but depends on your team setup, right? So this might require pair programming in a way. So you build pair programming with someone who are familiar with the code as well. So you have more confidence to merge your code. With trunk development, your pipeline design is actually a lot more simpler. But for front-end project, you might struggle a bit of using trunk because of the release process, especially for mobile project. This is why we have the scale trunk. That means we have the main trunk, but we don't have, like, for example, we don't split main and develop. We don't have a hotfix. We just have a feature branch and a release branch. It's actually a simpler version. It's a scale trunk, or like you're saying, it's a simplified Git flow. So once you have designed your branching strategy, then your pipeline design should follow how your branch looks like, right? So if you use trunk, you don't need. You have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you use this classic trunk in your projects?
We use Git flow, but we are trying to move to scaled trunk.
I'm wondering how it looks like in a team with 5 and more developers.
With 5 developers.
For example.
It doesn't matter if your project is massive, and again, if your project is UI project, a mobile project, for example, you have to go through the whole release process for the app store. It doesn't matter how many people you have in your team. It's about the release process. That's why you have a release branch and a hotfix branch, because you want to separate the development code and the production code from your hotfix and from your release as well. But I would recommend the scale trunk. Like, it makes things a lot more easier. You will find like you don't need a develop branch. You just need the main branch and some feature branch for you to do code review, to do a feature branch. Maybe you do some feature flag as well. And you can use the release branch for your release and for hotfix as well. So we are almost there as for scale trunk. Apart from that, we do have a hotfix branch, but we don't need, for example, develop branch. We use main branch. So yeah, it works. So in terms of a PR, branching strategy is what we will decide, what kind of pipeline you will have. And your testing strategy defines what is tested and what can you test in each of the pipeline type. So we all know that as for PR, we want to run full unit tests, have maybe some test coverage logic in to check if our tests cover the threshold, do some lint check. And in release, we want to run the full tests, right? End-to-end tests, API tests, accessibility. And maybe we'll have some off-peak pipeline as well, like we run in the nightly build that basically runs 3-4 hours doing full tests. So it doesn't matter what tests strategy you follow. Maybe you're using BDD, TDD, or combine BDD, TDD, or you have this testing pyramid, right? You do like unit tests and some golden tests, integration. But the key here, as for the design of the pipeline, is to separate your tests. And again, this goes back to how your project is separated. So if your tests can be separated, so you have your tests can run independently, right? You don't have to run UI tests to trigger your unit tests. You can run unit tests separately. Everything is very nice layered. That means you are ready to design your pipeline, having your tests separated. So if we have a design here for tests and for our branch, we can almost very confidently saying we will have a very healthy integration pipeline. So what happens here is we have the code cloned, do the analyze, right? Check, and maybe we can run the job in parallel. That means you have your multi-branch, you have your parent pipeline, your child pipeline. You run everything in parallel, and you validate your code, linked, do some security check, and then you do your tests, right? Check your coverage and do unit test. Maybe you can do a bit more here. Like you can do a smoke UI test, make sure nothing goes wrong on the first look of it. And do a little bit, not too much, of integration tests. And then you can saying this code is ready to merge, right? So this is on a high-level view, integration pipeline. But when you design writing your script, it might look a bit more complicated. So moving on from integration to full. So this one is the full pipeline. That means you run literally everything. And this one is optional because it doesn't impact that much of your production and your code development. you might have this one running in a off-peak time, and ideally this one run for like an hour, but sometimes it can run even longer. Do you have this offline pipeline in your project that you run separately? No. Okay, so this one basically is something you run to get more confident for your project and to test literally everything. We have accessibility, we have UI, we have device form, we have a lot of things in our project. So we need this one to run, and this one runs like sometimes 2-3 hours, including iOS, Android, and the web. And definitely recommend to run this in off-peak time, so it doesn't occupy your CI power. So for the full pipeline, what we can do to improve it, right? So it's actually okay if your project is not monorepo or if your project is monorepo. Do you use monorepo project here? Yeah. So this one is optional, right? I don't think this one will impact too much. It's just like, where do I put my code, right? How big my project is. Is my project everything in one place or not, right? We just pull them from different location. That's fine. So we just have, if you are using multi-repo, make sure everything is consistent. And we can fast and make it efficient to rebase the main branch. Again, right, I would highly recommend to have this code owner feature configuration in your project. Right, not to saying this person owns the code, but this team will be responsibility to make sure the code is merged and doesn't impact my production code. Because of the business logic, right? Because not everyone have all the business logic from different department. So monolith, right? Question again. Is your project monolith or it's modularized? Do you think your project is very clean, very modularized? Yeah. Yeah, modular. So your project is very like a Lego, right? You can just plug and play. All you suffer from having a project, even though you have different package, but your project is a monolith. That means you can't really run a package on its own. You have to trigger different package to run together for one change. If your project is a monolith and if you suffer from it, it's actually difficult to run build with just a small set of tests. It's a long build process. That means a small change in your project can impact the entire project. Let me see the time. I don't know if I'm taking too long. Again, multi-platform. Are we all Flutter engineer here? So we're all familiar with multi-platform. Yes, as everyone is smiling. Okay, so I'm going to skip this one because we all know the concept of multi-platform. If you're not, raise your hand. Okay. Right. There's nothing very mystery about a full pipeline. It's basically the combination of your PR pipeline and your release pipeline. So what you do in those two pipelines, just put them together, maybe even more, but you don't have to think about to deploy your code. So here, it means very similar. You clone your code, do some code validation, do some unit tests. Here in step 3, you can actually fail fast. So if you run your unit tests and if things fail, you can fail your build. And we have some very smart function here is that if the unit test pass or fail, and if this thing is being triggered again, we will not run code step 2. We cache the build step. So we will only run the thing that fell, rerun the thing that fell again. So we will skip things that are the build step, which is success. So when we go to step 4, if step 3 is successful, and if something went wrong in step 4, step 5, for example, we will not rerun step 3 again. We will just get the code, bypass 2 and 3, and go to step 4. Right, so up in the end, you run your full UI tests in all platforms, that means iOS, Android, and web. Then you can upload your artifacts and notify your user about your build result. So Release, right. This is one of my favorite topic here. I'm going to talk a bit more about the micro front end here. So it doesn't matter how long it takes because you only run this once in a while. It's not the timing in release pipeline that impact that much for your day-to-day job. So I'm sure if we do agile, right, we cut the release branch every 2 weeks, every week, if you're using weekly or bi-weekly cadence. And we cut the release branch, and it's actually, how long is your release branch will live, right? Like a day? Then you can deploy? 3 days? No?
Yeah, my project is like 6 months.
Yeah. I'm with you. Right. We suffer from this long leave release branch because we cut the release branch and we found the bug. We fixed the bug and we found the more bugs, right? And every team have their own issue for the release branch. And if you work in a big project like us, you have like delayed release, or you just don't even meet the release train. But what we can do here, right? Talk about release management. It's about the process of planning, design, scheduling. This will help you to improve your pipeline design. But what is the key, in my opinion, we worked a lot to improve the architecture of the project, is to adapt the concept of micro frontend. So this is about to truly split, decouple your project into smaller chunks, right? Like a Lego, into smaller modules, and they all can be published on its own, be versioned, and be consumed at the library. That means if I use a version of someone, like a payment team, right? They publish the version of payment module. We test it, we package it, we version it, we upload it. I work for security team or a syndication team in the whole project. I can use payment as a service. And during release process, if something went wrong, I can either fix the bug in the release branch, or I can roll back to a previous tested, healthy version of that code. So I don't have to fix any bugs on release in a release process. That means I don't stop other team to release their code to production. I'm not going to be the release blocker. So how can this impact? Right, micro frontend is about the architecture, right? With the power of using caching and also test things in affected area for any new change. And we release a small chunk of code before the project is deployed. And this requires a truly separation of the module and have version strategy as well. How do we do patch? How do we do minor and major change of our module? So, auto version, if you are, for example, this again for web, right? So we can, for the auto version, we can bundle package like by version like 2.11.10. That's following the same strategy. And we apply a new version, for example, as for web in a package JSON, or maybe in a different configuration file. You can do this manually, or you can use the tools to help you do this in a very automated way. I have a talk about the micro frontend for Flutter. I think this talk is uploaded to YouTube. And this because we're going to talk about the micro frontend today, but in my other talk about the micro frontend for Flutter, I talk about the configuration, the tools we can use for version, for caching, for a Flutter project. So the setting is actually, the concept is the same, but the tool use is a bit different. And how do we use cache, right? We can run code in affected area when things are changed. And we can cache the build. So how does this work? A bit going to the tech side, right? So we have, like, for example, 500 of unit tests, and each of them are grouped in a module. And for the very first time we run our tests, every module is stamped with a timestamp and a hash code. Right? Imagine you have like 500 folders with 500 hash name attached to each folder and a timestamp. If one person changes one line of code in those 500 folders, that particular code and that folder will be invalid. And that folder, of everything in that folder will rerun, and the timestamp and the hash will change, with everything else remains the same. So when you run your build again, you can reuse everything that is cached, and if your timestamp and the timestamp and the hash changed, that means you need to rerun this test again. This is the concept how the cache behind the thing works, right? I mean, logic-wise, how the cache works, but implementation-wise, it's definitely more complicated, but it's with the power of timestamp and using the hash code. Right. Again, following the auto version and using the logic and the power of cache, we can actually manage to release things on a smaller scale. So we don't release the project as whole in one go. That means if someone needs to change and improve a small bug in the release branch, this person will actually block everyone else to merge. But if I only release my own module, whenever I'm ready to release it, and then someone else can consume it as a service. So when we cut release branch, we can use all versioned module as a library. So release will be a lot more easier. That means we can roll back. Everything can be interchangeable. We can release more on demand. We shift tests to the left, so we test the things earlier. And so the enhanced release cycle, right? We detect errors early. We have a separated release and the deployment pipeline because we release things in a smaller scale. And it's actually very secure now to provide a test to external group, right? We can share them build and we can share them the service package as well. It's shortened the release cycle with automation. And we can actually deploy more than 100 times a day if we wish to, right? So the release pipeline, if we talk about like following the micro frontend strategy, again, we get the code. But here we're different from building a PR pipeline is we actually bump the version of the package that we want to release. We will then run tests here, unit test and integration. Do run integration because this, again, is a release. It's not deployment, but it's a release. And we publish with this releasable module, and we notify people and we update the released version in the project in the auto way as well. We don't want to do this manually. So if we're doing the whole flow as up to now, the deployment should be very, very simple. The thing we want to think about here is how secure it is, how do we do hotfix, and so this might not be so. We might not need this deployment strategy for front-end project. Blue-green A/B test, Canary, right? But I think we'll use Canary for at least for Android deployment because you have this tool by Google, right, which is super nice. So we release things in a smaller chunk, slowly to our user. So deployment, it's very simple, right? We just get the code, version the whole application, and we push it to production, and there you go. Everything is distributed and go to our end user. So a bit more, right, last slides is how we can further even more enhance this whole process, right? We keep our repository small and in our branch, right? So if I run the branch, I might see thousands of branches, right? Either the code is merged or not used. We should delete those merged branch and delete branch that is not used, right? Constantly, so to keep our repo small. We should rebase before merge, of course, right? We run very large build in off-peak hours, so it doesn't block the power of CI. Code owner, nice to have, and some Git hooks, right? I would recommend Husky to check the commit message, do after merge, and do some pre-commit check as well. And we always work to continuously improving the pipeline. So yeah, that's all I'm going to share today for the DevOps for Frontend project. And if you'd like to hear or discuss more, we can talk here or you can connect me. And thank you for having me.
Right. All right. Thank you, Teresa. Do we have any questions? We got 2 questions for now.
So in scope of the mobile development, we know that the most challenging thing is the pipelines related to iOS. I wanted to ask, what's your recipe for that? How do you approach iOS-related pipelines? Do you own your runners? Do you rent it per minute?
I'm not iOS developer, but in terms of the pipeline, when you say runner, do you mean the runner for the iOS more specifically, or a runner for a pipeline design?
Yeah, I mean the runner for iOS because obviously we can compile the iOS app only on macOS, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, I would suggest that you, so it's actually, again, depends, right? Because with Mac, it's a different story. We can run everything that we can in a Kubernetes world using cloud power. That's what we do using a container, and either it's Linux or Linux machine or Windows. But when it comes to UI tests and something very specific for iOS, like integration tests, that have to use a device and use a very iOS thing. Because we're using multi-platform as well for the framework, so it's not, we don't have Android and iOS code that much. So the project is actually multi-platform, but we do have iOS specific code. For that part, then we will switch to using Mac. But it's again, it's a Mac Stadium, it's a cloud.
All right, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Okay.
How many gifts you had today? 3? 2?
Yeah. Small question. I assume that when you said you recommend to use Git hooks, you talked about Git server side hooks.
Git hooks.
Yeah, like pre-commit. Yeah.
So there's libraries, services you can use. So these Git hooks help you to check, do some condition checks, right? Like you can, there are different conditions. You can set up like, so for your commit message, you can actually have a format. So always start with the feature and always end with like the Jira number. So you can link your build to a Jira tickets from your build, which is super nice. If you have this route in, you do some pre-commit check with Git hooks, so you don't do this manually. And you can check post-merge, and you can check, what else do we have? We have pre-commit, post-merge, and there were 8 functions in total. This just to ensure your, basically your Git is healthy in a way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, one more person.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. Really nice. And I'd like to ask about continuous deployment in mobile app world because yeah, I do get continuous deployment in on web pages because user enters web page anew and they get the new version. But for the mobile development, mobile world. Each user needs to download the update actually. Sometimes it's done automatically, sometimes it's not, but I don't really see myself downloading the 100 updates per day. Yeah. So how do you feel about this continuous delivery in the mobile?
Yeah. So this is why we actually release 100 times a day, but we don't deploy it. Release means we release the code to our internal testing environment, or just to upload the. So, for example, if you're from web world, have an image uploaded to some image registry, but it doesn't send it to the end user just yet. Maybe do some canary tests, do some A/B tests, but we only deploy for mobile, especially on a cadence of the agile. Like we have every 2 weeks of release management process. We push the code every 2 weeks, so our user is not going to be annoyed with our app keep going to them. But we do have like sometimes force update for major breaking change that they must update their mobile app. They will be notified for those breaking changes and be force updated, unfortunately, for security reason. But you don't supposed to deploy it that often, for sure, to improve your user experience as well. But most of the app, you should have this default feature to accept patch and minor update. But think about how you want to receive major change, right?
Yeah, okay, so it's basically a naming issue in my project and what you were talking about, because, yeah, in my project, the release is like this big stuff happening with canary releases and what's not, and what you said about the release is more like for testing build for us, yeah. Okay, so I understand that. Thank you.
No problem.
As I get you that you are the CI/CD master, so I would like to ask about your way to focus on all the process to release, because I mean, would you prefer to focus on testing and so on after the feature branch and stopping developers to moving to the next feature, or to focus on the control ways, on the control and testings and so on, integration after merging the feature branches before releasing? I'm not sure it's clear, but what where do you prefer to focus on the testing and integration? Just after the feature branch, after merging feature branch, or before releasing?
Where do I focus on the testing?
Yeah, and the whole process to integrate the feature with application.
Right. So because we actually create lots of PR every day, like 30, 40, right, for the whole team, you don't want to have your PR to test everything, and that's one of the concepts. I mean, this one, again, there's nothing right or wrong, like a data management, right? You have different options. For PR, ideally, you run all the unit tests and maybe some integration tests, and attach a little bit of, do some smoke tests on UI, golden tests, right? Make sure nothing goes wrong on the first look of it. And if you're doing BDD, which is great, that means you can actually have a very healthy integration pipeline. If you create a PR, make sure you follow it through. Make sure you can actually fix the bug and then have it merged. Maybe it doesn't go to production because of feature, but you can also feature flag it. And the tests you want to focus on PR level is very different from deployment level, because we have so many type of tests in the project, not just unit tests. We have accessibility, which is a very big thing, API tests, and we do manual tests as well. For deployment, the test is different level, and we go to the external group to use the power of the device for end-to-end test as well. Okay. But if you have a PR that you create, I would say follow it through, because having so many branch created on your Git repo make the Git repo really, really large. So merge it and delete it.
Yeah, because I met with project that I should test everything before merge my feature branch, and it wasn't fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just give them the data of how long it takes to run everything, and how possible they can delay you merge your feature, because things that you merge to your main branch is something you finished and can go to production. If this causing delay, think about the strategy, right? But if you have a small project and if you run everything within 10 minutes, I would say why not?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
All right, any more questions? I don't see any hands. We don't also have any online questions. So, Teresa, thank you one more. Make some noise for the Teresa Wu for this beautiful presentation. I know we also have two more prizes. Teresa, I would like you to, choose two more most active people on your presentation, since it was very, interactive, and give the prize to them.
Hard for me to choose.
Okay, so you have a minute to think about it. So, thank you, Teresa. And all right. That was the 5th edition of the Flutter Meetup. I really like your attitude, your activity here. So I hope we will see each other in the next time. Thank you for coming, and see you next time. All right, one more information is there are stickers just right the corner. So if you want some, you can grab. All right. What? Ah. All right. Do we have slides with this? Okay. So you have to wait a second with me, or a minute. No. I didn't prepare any. All right. So, where's the slide? This is it. All right. So you can scan the QR code here, and there will be a special place where you can fill the form and tell us how do you like the whole event. Or the whole feedback about this whole event. So I would like you to scan it and give us what you think. So one more time, thank you for coming, and see you next time.